dread pen walking. I got the dead men flocking. I got the handheld racket. I never count a man pocket. I get through the red tape. I'm about to race a red race. Dressed every day like a red copy. I'm showing growth at the dread like it. I get long neck, ice shirt. I take a sexy thing shopping. I'm doing everything bossy. I'm smoking Mary Jane flossing. I got the salt like teriyaki. Kicking my shit like Texas Walker. You and your home in the same target. Put you both in the same coffin. Southfield, Schwarzenegger, strong pay. Porsche killer, klepto, whole stiller. Highlight sports, selling big money, no feelings. Big car, no silly. Big deal, big willing. Rich and me or sick big. I see dead men walking. 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 Yeah.
Vintage Rolex, red fox, pussy soak, big rock. Made the coke pop lock, yeah, turn hard rock. Push up on his exotic, I was codeine in my body, I was tattooed on my body, Rich Miller cost Bugatti, Ain't had no shit on the bed, I was just counting the dead. Hopped on the G for the story, this gave me head, cheat. I know to change my voice for the raw, me a nigga. Give it up. I know how to hold that fucking Pyrex pack and pick it up. I get the 5s, the 10s, the 50s, the 100s, the slices of bread. Yeah, my chain, the hit in the head, I still got leaked up. Yeah, talking to my main bitch, get my dick sucked. Yeah, plug talk, quarter brick up. Hey.
I see dead men walking. 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 Yeah.
DJ Noise, German mixtape master.
Run that back, turbo.
I to be massive, running on racks. I know these niggas ain't talking to me, I don't give a reaction. I to be keeping that Glock on my hip and I wear it for fashion. I really be ballin' and popping that shit like I do on my captions. I to be massive, running on racks. I know these niggas ain't talking to me, I don't give a reaction. I to be keeping that Glock on my hip and I wear it for fashion. I really be ballin' and popping that shit like I do on my captions. Yeah, I'm not a businessman, I am a businessman. I ain't got time to be with you niggas, I'm handling business, fam. We at the clip, we're flicking it up and you not in the picture, fam. Said it was smoke, we took it a joke, you put it on Instagram. Damn, how can I entertain some niggas that not even in my lane? I really get money, they playing games. I'm about to go get me an airplane just to go out like another level. I've been keeping my bitches in fair Wayne. Having a threesome is double trouble. Got them eating no pussy and sharing things. I'ma be rich forever, my nigga. I put that on God. Play with the game, put that on my name. You niggas gon' die. Everything about me is say I'm official. It ain't no lie. Wet your homie, you know that we did it. You ain't gon' slide. Pussy, I to be massive. Running on racks. I know these niggas ain't talking to me, I don't give a reaction. I to be keeping that Glock on my hip and I wear it for fashion. I really be ballin' and popping that shit like I do on my captions. I to be massive, running on racks. I know these niggas ain't talking to me, I don't give a reaction. I to be keeping that Glock on my hip and I wear it for fashion. I really be ballin' and popping that shit like I do on my captions.
Getting on your block, bitch, we gon' alert a lot of killers on alert. And bitch, we steppin' on your turf. I love the way my Uzi squad. We at Forever 21, but that bitch said she wanted Gucci. You wanted me to spoil you, but you ain't giving coochie. A rich hood nigga, throw the money, smack a booty. Don't fuck with him, he showed his true colors and they was frozen. I'm blacking out, my eyes keep closing cause a nigga zooted. My gas called ass in the can cause it polluted. He spreading rumors so the hollow tip started spreading through his body. My niggas really killing, we don't give a fuck what you hollering. And I don't care if you was Donald Trump, I spend any bodies. And how the fuck is you a stepper, you ain't killed nobody.
I to be massive, running on racks. I know these niggas ain't talking to me, I don't give a reaction. I to be keeping that Glock on my hip and I wear it for fashion. I really be ballin' and popping that shit like I do on my captions. I to be massive, running on racks. I know these niggas ain't talking to me, I don't give a reaction. I to be keeping that Glock on my hip and I wear it for fashion. I really be ballin' and popping that shit like I do on my captions.
No stranger to chaos and disorder, Donald Trump is rather predictably delighting in what's happening in Iowa this afternoon. More than a dozen tweets and retweets since last night on the topic, several of them insinuating some kind of sinister activity. You might remember this is exactly the kind of environment in which he thrived and ultimately won in 2016. He repeatedly insisted that election was rigged, even suggesting he might not accept the results if he lost. Now he's employing a similar strategy in this election aimed at Democrats in Iowa, gleefully promoting suspicion about a rigged process. Joining our conversation just in time, former Assistant Director for Counterintelligence at the FBI, Frank BUGZ, and joining our table, White House Bureau Chief for The Washington Post and co-author of the New York Times bestseller, A Very Stable Genius. With his co-author, Carol Lennick, Phil Rucker is here. Frank BUGZ, a tweet of yours caught my attention. It was about, I think it boiled down to, we don't need Russia to sort of make us doubt the credibility and the veracity of our elections. Explain.
Well, Russia did a great job of prepping the battlefield, right? So they softened us up. They're causing us to doubt anything we see. But I can only imagine what it looked like inside the Kremlin this morning, with Putin probably calling in his head of intelligence and saying, hey, did we do that thing in Iowa last night? And the head of intelligence saying, no, sir, the Americans managed to screw it up all by themselves. So if this happened in a vacuum, if we had this discrepancy and inconsistency in Iowa without two dozen Russians having been indicted for messing with our election, we would have said, look, it's a technical disaster, but we'll fix it and move on. But now we're all doubting all the results, and Russia wins when that happens. They've had this very effective impact on our own perceptions. And I've got some bad news in this regard. If you don't like what's happened in Iowa, we're going to see it happen again in one shape or another. Get used to this new battlefield, this new lack of trust and credibility we have in our systems, because the longer we rely on technology, the more vulnerable we've become.
Claire, you were on the Homeland Security Committee, and this is where I miss a Senate Intel Committee or sort of a functioning bipartisan, any of the national security committees that could sort of have gone out today and stood shoulder to shoulder and have said at a federal level, we're going to redouble our efforts to help maintain or restore the public's faith in the credibility of our election.
Yeah, it was very frustrating as the ranking member on Homeland Security. Keep in mind that the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate is also the Government Affairs Committee, which is the oversight committee of the United States Senate. Ron Johnson was the chairman. I kept pushing and prodding and writing him letters. We need more hearings on election security. We need more disclosure about what happened with Russia. He just wanted to talk about Hillary Clinton's emails and some conspiracy, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Right. That's all he wanted to talk about.
Well, they had their own committee looking. I mean, they did that too, right?
Right.
I mean, they looked
but they would not. We maybe had one hearing or maybe two on election security. When you look at what happened and the 12 Russians that were indicted, the fact that there hasn't been aggressive oversight of what happened and how to fix it for the next one, or legislation. I mean, look, Mitch McConnell is sitting on the election security bill that came over from the House, is refusing to bring it to the floor for a vote. It's outrageous.
It's so upsetting. And if you look at the way the Senate has handled itself in the context of the impeachment case that the House managers put forward, they are going to do Donald Trump's bidding. And Donald Trump's bidding seems to be to row in the opposite direction, to sow distrust of our elections.
Yeah, from before he was even elected president, Donald Trump has had a strategy to sow distrust in American institutions. First and foremost, our election system. He was trying to do that on the campaign trail in the fall of 2016. But across the board, remember, after he took office, he complained about alleged voter fraud. He said there were 3 to 5 million illegal votes cast in California. That is not true. But he insisted it repeatedly, including in front of congressional leaders, Speaker Pelosi among them. And this is just more evidence for him to create doubt about our elections throughout this campaign year this year, so that when the election happens in November, his supporters may believe that the results aren't to be believed.
It's a terrifying prospect. You've also got some reporting, you and your colleagues today, about an emboldened Donald Trump. I kind of have a hard time imagining, other than streaking across the South Lawn, what that would even look like. I mean, he functions as
we don't want to imagine
he functions as a highly emboldened and unrestrained and uninhibited person right now. I just explain what that might look like.
Well, we've seen it before.
Leaving my example out of it.
We've seen before, after the Mueller investigation concluded, for example, when the president feels like he gets off without the accountability that his actions may have deserved, he feels emboldened. He pushes through the guardrails. The guardrails at this point are gone. There is no Jim Mattis at the Pentagon. There is no John Kelly or Raven Reichs Priebus as the chief of staff at the White House. And the expected acquittal tomorrow in the Senate is just another step that our reporting shows is likely to embolden him and make him trust his own impulses and instincts and feel like there's nothing that can stop him.
Real quick, and that's largely because he's not being held accountable anywhere along the way. So you take accountability out of the system. That's the ultimate guardrail. That's not an individual. It is the entire piece. You get what you get.
All right, I want to explain what we're waiting for now. Ahead of the first results being released out of the Iowa caucuses from last night, that's expected at 5. But ahead of that, the chairman of the Iowa State Democratic Party is expected to come out. When he starts speaking, we'll take you to that. But Frank Figliuzzi, I want to just come back to you. I want to see if you can sort of stitch together what feel like disparate dots. But the president was just impeached by the House of Representatives for trying to cheat in the 2020 election. The first contest in the Democratic primary of 2020 is now, as Claire McCaskill and Jason Johnson have said, forever sort of stained with an asterisk. What is the sort of role for law enforcement or for Congress or for local officials in terms of right now, today, reassuring the public's faith in the credibility of American elections?
Yeah, this is all about accurate, honest, candid messaging. It is crucial to get this right, even if it means that somebody at the state party level may have to announce their resignation. We need people to come out. And I, by the way, I've spent the morning talking with my contacts in various federal government agencies. And the good news is there is absolutely no evidence that this is foreign meddling. This is a technology screw up. But more importantly, this is a failure to test the system, to train how this app works. But they had plenty of notice. We've all been saying it's not about the tabulation of the votes. It's going to be about the transmission of results. And here it happened. So we need an honest explanation. We need a way forward. And, we talked about Senate walking away from this. McConnell saying this is not, our national election is not a federal problem. We don't want to take ownership of this. Well, there's one reason they don't want to take ownership of it, because it's highly complicated and fraught with peril. Mm-hmm. But we need somebody to step up and say, this is what happened, and this is how we're going to fix it. We own this problem. We're going to make it better. If we don't hear that today, the public is right to be very troubled and concerned about moving forward with election results.
And Jason Johnson, that's from a counterintelligence worldview, a federal law enforcement worldview. What's your view, sort of, as someone more familiar with the complicated contours of the Democratic Party? I mean, is a scalp worth giving to reassure confidence in this process?
I mean, they need to reassure confidence, but I think the problem is who's the Democratic Party that you're speaking to, right? Yeah, I mean, you have a large number of supporters of Bernie Sanders who are skeptical of the whole process anyway. You have the Joe Biden people who are saying, well, this is bad, but the other parts are bad. So you don't even know who the propaganda needs to go. You don't know who the apology letter needs to go to at this point, because Democrats are in so many different places. And I think, again, as a whole, do I think this worries somebody in California voting on Super Tuesday? Probably not. But does this worry people in Nevada, and does this make people in general doubt the effectiveness of the process? That's a bigger issue.
And other than sort of gleefully enjoying the mess of all this, is the Trump campaign picking up anything about this murky field? I mean, we reported that Mike Bloomberg made a decision to double down and to spend more to advertise even. I don't even know what doubling infinity looks like in terms of the math there. But, this seems to be strengthening some of the people that Donald Trump should be most nervous about.
That's right. And if you look at the last several months, this is probably the best day on the Trump campaign. The Gallup poll shows his approval rating at its highest point since his presidency began. Approval in the economy is higher than it's been in 2 decades. He's about to address tens of millions of Americans tonight in the State of the Union and claim victory for the economy and for killing terrorists and lay out a path forward for his reelection campaign, and the Democrats can't seem to count the heads in the gymnasiums in Iowa, literally. So it's a real problem for the Democratic Party at a moment when Trump is gaining some steam.